It's gonna be fun.
Hi Jeff, how are you?
See, I actually made a poster Rosie. It says for the first time in Musser whole history, and probably the only time, unless I don't have new ideas for my next event, which will be like next year. So the questions, take political, economic, cultural, Gnostian, and censored. Uncensored.
Oh, uncensored.
Sex.
Anything goes.
Sex related, man. Anything goes. He knows about that.
There he is. He's a sex fiend of muscle.
He's getting the thing going on with Kermit the Frog.
What is Kermit doing to my head?
He'll take anything he can get.
The questions no one else wants to ask will be asked. They will be asked, and we'll have special guest Shitori. We have him here right now,
There he is.
and he will be our funny guy, our master of ceremony.
Yeah, I want to say about that. Like East Asian country like South Korea or Japan, it's like Japan government is much more free than South Korean government, I guess. And you can do whatever you want. And since we have a lot of people, like half of American population, so they never care what you do. But in real life, the government doesn't care about it, but your neighbor care about it. Like if I do something wrong, the community is saying like something like bad rumor, and it's like peer pressure is really very high. And say like if I have Korean girlfriend, like they say, what? Are you going out with Korean? Because we invade Korea, and between Korea and Japan has not good relationship. And in Japan, Korean got so severe discrimination. So if I say like I have Korean girlfriend, they say like, what are you talking about? It's like, relative wise, family wise, it's not freedom, Since we are so homogeneous, it's like a lot of bias or those a specific way of idea hide me a lot.
I don't know much about government to say that I can judge how strict it is or how much freedom it is. Because I left the country when I was pretty much young, and as a kid, I have a lot of freedom because I just go on do all the business of a kid. I never actually test my limit to see how far I can go before the government stop me. So I don't really know.
A lot of restrictions. You can't drink. You can be over 21 as much as you can be 65 and you still can't drink unless you have a permit. Other restrictions when it comes to driving a car. You have to have a visa. See, I'm a resident of the country, not a citizen. As a resident, you've got a ton of restrictions. Like you really need to have a visa. You need to have a residence visa. That too. If you do have a tourist visa in the country for more than 60 days, they will deport you and they'll do some other things before they send you off. The girls and guys are separated when it comes to when it's at school. The only time when I think there's only one school that I know of where they do put the girls and guys together. That's right at the end. That's only because the school, they have very few students that actually go to that school to complete, I guess, 12th grade. That's where we have something like it. It's called A-levels. And so that's why they do that. Other than that, the buses are separated. They make sure they have maybe either all the girls in the back of the bus and all the guys in the front, with a lot of teachers in between to keep them separated. As kids, there are a lot of restrictions. Staying out late. If you are under 21 and you're found after midnight places, the cops, they call them the CIDs, they come and they catch you and they make sure that you've got valid papers. If you don't, then put you in jail for a while. At least these are stories that I've heard, and so I was very careful about how late I stayed out. So other things. Fridays, all shops have to be closed during the prayer hours. If they're not, they can revoke your license, and if you're not a resident of the if you're not a citizen of the country, they can't send you back to your place of back home to you, wherever your country is. A lot of other things too. I can't think of just off the top of my head. That's pretty much it.
Okay. I believe freedom is Well, my definition of freedom is freedom with responsibility. And if the government is too restrictive, that means the people might not really want to have the real freedom. They just want to do whatever they want. They just that might mean something like that. So I think for Korea, I think it's very free country. I mean, as long as people respect the authority and relations and culture. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm from different part of Japan compared to Takash, so I do not agree with him whatever he said. I mean, not all of them, but it's true that people do look at you, you know what you do, really. But the culture we have, if when I feel like it doesn't work for me, I don't buy it. So that's why I came here. Like, I didn't want to go to college in Japan like everybody did. I mean, does. And well, it is pretty much free. But as Han said, it takes responsibility.
See, India.
Well, India is a democracy, and I think politically it has given its citizens all the liberties that an ideal democracy would have to offer, for which I am extremely glad being part of India. Besides political freedom, I think there's another important aspect, which is social freedom, as Takashi was saying. And social freedom is independent of the political system that exists in the country. You can be a communist country and yet have plenty of liberties as individuals because the society allows you to have them. And you can be a capitalist country yet have very little liberties because the society restricts you from having them. And India is a mixture in terms of society. We have plenty of ethnic groups, and I think it's especially in Bombay, the city where I come from, it's a metropolitan city where people from different backgrounds stay. So I would say that, well, I talked about political freedom, but as far as social freedom is concerned, I think it depends on the place you are staying. But on the whole, I would say there is some restriction as far as social freedom is concerned, and I'm glad about it because, once people start demanding liberties, they start forgetting their rights, and democracy is successful only if people first do their duties and then talk about rights, and not the other way. So, and if you want a general answer about if India has given me freedom, the fact that I'm here should speak volumes about it.
Really cool. Anything to add?
Well, I agree totally with Chaitanya, and the only thing I would add is that India has personal and religious freedom, and that is very big to me. I have friends of all religions with different kinds of opinions. I think that's big.
I think a lot of philosophy of America being the most free country in the world, as Chaitanya was mentioning about social things can really put people where they're not as free. This is my political bias at the very least. I believe a lot of people are not as free as other people, be it socioeconomic, religious, political affiliation, so on and so forth. So in a lot of respects, I think there's a lot of talk about freedom, but I don't think people understand how the socioeconomic or the religious or the political situations can really take away that freedom that we so dearly talk about. Also, I think a lot of Americans I know a lot of Americans take for granted the freedoms and the rights that they have. How many Americans of voting age actually go out and vote? This past year, it was 53% of eligible Americans went out and voted, and that was a presidential election. This year, we're probably going to look at something in the line of 28%. And that's because if it's not plastered all over the media, people don't respond to it very well. I think if people really want to express and experience their freedoms, they need to first understand that there are responsibilities associated with being a citizen of the United States. The least of which is the voting. It's something that many groups have struggled to obtain in this nation. Blacks, women, Asians, Hispanics, college students. It's something that people have got to learn to appreciate and really exercise. Religious freedom, in my mind, is the most important freedom that we have. And I think people understand the importance of that religious freedom. Constitutionally implied or not, I think the separation of church and state that we have set up is strong. I do see some threats to that freedom, though. And I hope that it's a freedom that always remains. So, stop talking because I can go for hours.
Jeff, yourself.